University Heights forward. I'm going to talk about our schools, K through 12, and right here on campus. Then our comprehensive zoning code update, University Square, our service department. We're going to go over new municipal facilities. I will turn then to community programming and the community calendar. I will discuss our financial position, proposals for 2024 and beyond. I will then recognize some of the folks getting the job done here in city government. And finally, I'm going to talk about the state of our democracy. So we'll start with something that is less state of the city and more civic awards. I want to recognize some of the great people who are working hard to make University Heights an even greater place to live, work, and raise a family. I wish to recognize Jeffrey Pearl for his work last year as a volunteer in helping to bring a composting drop-off site here to University Heights. Residents may now sign up with Rust Belt Riders to bring their composting to bins located on the east end of Walter Stinson Community Park. One day, I hope that our city will be able to offer curbside composting services as sustainable communities in other parts of the country do. And when we resume the Sustainability Committee later this year, I expect Jeffrey Pearl will be there because Jeffrey Pearl is helping move our city forward. I turn now to the University Heights Green Team. Elizabeth Engelhardt and others are out there extolling the virtues of better recycling, holding workshops on how to recycle better, while also hosting community days, clearing catch basins, and doing cleanup. They are the change we want to see in our community. The Green Team has planned an event for May 21st, which will coincide with a memorial tree plaque dedication for Walter Stinson in the park named in his honor. These things are happening because Elizabeth Engelhardt is helping move our city forward. Speaking of the Walt, Eran Shiloh leads a group of volunteers known as Friends of the Walt. The Friends help beautify our park and keep it beautiful even as the service department remains short-staffed. The Walt was looking shabby until Eran and his group got to work. They even got a Future Heights grant for native plantings. Their good results cannot be disputed. They, together with Eran Shiloh, are helping move our city forward. Next, I recognize Dimitrios Athinos and his brother Nico for their belief in our community by opening not one, but 2 restaurants in University Heights. I think we all know Chicken Ranch by now, but our first new business in 2023 is also his, Xena Greek Street Food. Dimitrios may live in Cleveland Heights, but we're one big, happy Heights family. Dimitrios Athinos is helping move our city forward. Next, Rachel and Sarah Gross of Bialy's Bagels. These twin sisters took over Bialy's, a local culinary institution, just before I became mayor of the city. They've already expanded their offerings, adding new bagel flavors. They've held their own through the pandemic. They partnered with Libby Steinman of Milk and Cookies to make a savory and sweet mishmash cookie. And now, after much planning, they have begun an expansion of their store space and will begin making and selling bagel sandwiches at their shop. We have lived to see Geraci's accept credit cards, and we will now see Bialy's Bagels making bagel sandwiches. Rachel and Sarah Gross believe in what they do and in our community, and they're helping move our city forward. Deborah Sheeran retired from her day job and opened her inclusive and body-positive boutique for women, Timeless Fashion, just a few doors down from Bialy's. As a former small business owner myself, married to a small business owner, my wife Gina over there, I love the entrepreneurial spirit that causes one to give up the certainty of a steady 40-hour-a-week job to work even harder towards something bigger. Deborah lives in Euclid, but she chose University Heights to fulfill her dream of running her own store. Deborah believes in University Heights, and she's moving our city forward. Bhavesh Patel was born in India and moved to Ohio to seek his fortune. He is the proprietor of Big B's Beverage in South Euclid, and last year he bought the old Midas Muffler shop, put $700,000 into it, and just in time for the holidays opened Heights Beverage. With Heights Beverage, we have University Heights' first convenience store on the west end of Cedar Road. It is a beautiful store with an amazing selection of beer and wine. Bhavesh Patel's belief in our community is helping move our city forward. Chef Victor Searcy moved his award-winning hot chicken sandwich shop Sauce the City from Ohio City to University Heights, now located at 14480 Cedar Road, and he has plans for expansion. Victor Searcy could have moved his business anywhere, and he brought it to University Heights. His belief in our community is helping move our city forward. The same can be said for Amy Roth, who has been sewing for over 40 years. She moved her tailoring business, Amy R. Roth and Company, to University Heights after years in another nearby community. Amy's belief in our community is helping move our city forward. Bo Kinez and everyone at Kinez Builders has begun marketing the South Taylor Place condominiums, listing the first of them for sale on the MLS. It is the city's first new housing development since the 1970s. They did it because they believe in our community. We're working with them because we know they build a superior new home. They've built other new homes already in our city, infill housing on Raymont, Tullamore, Northwood, and South Green Roads. With 30 homes to come at South Taylor Place, Bo Kinez believes in University Heights and is helping move our city forward. I would be remiss if I did not mention our schools. University Heights is an attractive place to raise a family due to its proximity to so many great schools, public and private. Thank you to the private schools in and around University Heights, including but not limited to Jesus School, Beaumont, Laurel, Hathaway Brown, Hebrew Academy, Hawken, Gilmore, Ignatius, University School, Fuchs Mizrahi, Gross Schechter, and the Mandel Jewish Day School. A great city needs a great public school system, and I want to say thank you tonight to Tiger Nation, from the school board to Superintendent Elizabeth Kirby, to all the teachers and support staff. You're doing a great job. Where can you go with an education from Heights High? Well, where can't you go? You can go to the Super Bowl, right? And your brother can go too. More importantly, you can go to college. Great colleges. Put in the work and you can get a full ride to elite schools, Ivy League schools. In fact, the Heights High class of 2022 earned $17.3 million in scholarships from about 200 institutions. The district has a weighted graduation rate of 88.9%, just shy of a 3-star rating. Heights High School currently has a 4-year graduation rate of 87.7% for students who enter the 9th grade in the year 2017-2018 school year and graduated in 2021. The 5-year graduation rate is 90.7%. The district's 4-year graduation rate goal, a key component of the district's 2026 strategic plan, is 95%. With the district's 4-year and 5-year rates, while they continue to exceed the state average of 83%, the district will continue to work hard to support all Heights High students towards graduating within 4 years. Tiger Nation, I believe in you. And I say to all of you, take a look. There are wonderful things going on in the Cleveland Heights, University Heights City School District. I support our public school district and will continue to do so. It is no coincidence that the state of the city is once again being held on the campus of John Carroll University. Our city's fortunes are tied to the fortunes of this university, and vice versa. For years, City Hall and campus ignored each other, sometimes even antagonized each other. Thankfully, those days are behind us. We are partners, and together we are moving forward. One of the people moving JCU forward is Jeremiah Sweattle. He is the Assistant Vice President of Facilities and Auxiliary Services. His mission is to lead the way on facilities improvements that will make and keep JCU competitive. One such improvement is the new JCU Fieldhouse and Event Center, which will be built on South Belvoir Boulevard, a new 63,000 square foot fieldhouse complete with a 200-meter track. Currently, JCU track and field athletes train at Spire Institute over 40 miles away in Geneva and compete exclusively on the road. The field house will be on par with those at other schools in JCU's athletic division. JCU has also announced the South Gateway project, which will bring to Fairmount Circle mixed-use, student-resident living over restaurants and retail together with a parking garage. There will be new businesses coming to the Circle as part of this redevelopment, and there is an opportunity for current favorites to stay as well. This development will straddle both University Heights and Shaker Heights, and I believe it will be good for both cities. Once this project is complete, it will have a ripple effect. Many students will live closer to campus, and as they move into university housing, this will create opportunities to refurbish student rentals across University Heights and potentially create room to re-envision Warrensville Center Road. I welcome John Carroll's investment in itself and in our community. Look, the city's largest employer is JCU. It's our largest economic driver, and of course, it's our city's namesake. There would be no University Heights without the university. The city government needs to be a reliable partner on these projects. The city administration has been working closely with JCU to help bring these projects to fruition. Jeremiah Sweddle believes in JCU, and yes, he believes in University Heights. He is helping move our city forward. But it's not all about construction cranes and new buildings at John Carroll. Guided by University President Dr. Al Mikiak, progress will be made inside the buildings as well. A new nursing program begins this fall at John Carroll. This effort will be led by Dr. Melissa Cole, the school's inaugural Director of Nursing and Strategic Healthcare Innovation. I'm going to let Al and Melissa, together with Dr. Stephen Herbert, Provost and Academic Vice President, tell you all about it. Let's roll some video.
John Carroll could have just started a nursing program and formed wonderful nurses, but we were not interested in only that. We were interested in forming nurses who can take their place in the healthcare system, become integral partners of the team-based approach that healthcare is moving towards, and become leaders in that space and change agents. Dr. Cole brings that passion for healthcare integration and breaking down of barriers across the many silos within our healthcare space.
We really need healthcare leaders of today that are nimble, agile in this really tumultuous environment post-pandemic. As we're seeing higher acuity patients, more complex patients, we're finding the bachelors of science in nursing helps decrease morbidity and mortality rates of our patients. That qualification is helpful both in a patient outcomes, but it also helps to prepare our nurses as leaders.
What we do is we form our students to be professionals out in the workplace who are whole persons caring for whole persons. That is a distinct difference that a Jesuit institution, in particular John Carroll, brings to our student formation.
The Nursing Sim Center at John Carroll is one that will take us in to training our future nurses of tomorrow in a really meaningful way. We put our nursing students in clinical environments, in the community setting, in a hospital setting, in order to provide a rich experience to help prepare them for, their job of tomorrow. The fact that John Carroll is surrounded by 3 major healthcare systems that are world-renowned and known for specialty services, but also community services, allows us to have a vast amount of clinical sites, as well as really knowledgeable clinical instructors and faculty at our fingertips. There's nothing more impactful, I think, than creating the workforce of tomorrow or the nurse of tomorrow. Thinking about the nurses we're going to enroll this fall and seeing them in 10 years out in the communities, out in the hospital, having a really big impact on the way we treat patients, improve our community health. It's kind of that feeling of awe and wonderment and joy all wrapped up in one.
Melissa, Al, and Stephen believe in public service. They believe in John Carroll, and their work will move University Heights forward, or as they like to say here on campus, onward. They are not alone. A university is only as good as her professors, and John Carroll has excellent professors. professors. Thank you for your strong work teaching and making John Carroll University an elite school. And there are thousands of students at JCU who are making University Heights a better place. I'd like to mention two of them. Jacob Kozlowski is the JCU student body president. Jacob started his term as president by addressing the issue of interpersonal violence on campus. He hosted a student discussion on the subject, asking students to join the conversation to end sexual violence. Sometimes universities are hesitant to address this subject as they don't want to suggest that it's a problem here. It is a problem everywhere. I applaud this student-led initiative to end sexual violence. Last year's student body president, Grace Kilfoyle, together with the Student Senate, took a strong interest in improving recycling in University Heights. Sometimes we forget that students that live in off-campus housing use city services, and their opinions on the subject are valid. I applaud the student government for their ongoing interest in issues on and off campus, and I assure them that this administration remains committed to recycling modernization consistent with well-established national best practices. Grace and Jacob, thank you for believing in University Heights. Thank you for helping move University Heights forward. Let me expand the conversation beyond Grace and Jacob. I want to say something to the entire student body. You are all part of University Heights. I welcome you. I'm glad you're here. In fact, I hope you'll consider settling down in University Heights after graduation. As long as there is a university in University Heights, there will be students with a common interest in this community. You keep us young, and you keep us moving forward. The changes on campus and the changes they have on our community mean that our review of our zoning code comes at an opportune time. I turn now to the comprehensive zoning code update now underway. Since 1956, our zoning code has been updated piecemeal to address zoning and development issues as they have arisen. This has created a disjointed code with inconsistencies and ambiguities that do not portray a unified or clear vision of our city. With our comprehensive update, we will seek to set forth a unified and clear vision for the city and more. Generally, we have three current land use goals. One, promote reuse and redevelopment to encourage economic growth in existing commercial areas. Two, ensure regulations that foster efficient land use and an aesthetically pleasing environment that is safe and inviting to pedestrians, cyclists, and motorized traffic. Three, encourage mixed-use development in appropriate areas to maximize redevelopment and to create areas of the city where residents can live, work, and play. Our zoning code largely does not support these current land use goals, which is no surprise as the current code well predates them. Our current code does promote high-quality housing, but it does so in a one-size-fits-all manner that results in many variances being granted annually. Perhaps most significantly, while our residential neighborhoods are very walkable, our commercial districts are largely disconnected and unwalkable. A new code will encourage better scale and integration between our commercial and residential districts. We can be less automobile reliant and encourage walking, biking, public transit modes for all ages and abilities. Think about some of the best places you've ever gone on vacation. Places where nearly everything you could want to do is just a short walk away. We can have that here. We are a lot closer to having that here than in some of our neighboring communities. We are the second most densely populated community, second most densely populated city in Cuyahoga County. Let's build upon that density. It is how we will grow and thrive. Even in advance of the comprehensive zoning code changes, we are looking at streamlining the process for residential solar panels. Residents interested in solar panels in a standardized configuration ought to be able to do that with a permit from our building department and not have to wait weeks to go through a 5-minute ARB meeting just to be told that this looks standard and you are approved. In all these zoning matters, we are moving forward. Sometimes moving forward means refusing to give up on a difficult project. Yes, I am talking about University Square. Tonight, I am pleased to report on significant progress. For some time now, we have negotiated with Target, Macy's, and the new developers, with all the stakeholders, to break the impasse on redeveloping University Square. In December 2022, we negotiated an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, for redevelopment of this long-blighted center of our community. When the bondholders foreclosed and took over this property in 2015, they had an 18 to 24-month plan to turn around University Square. 8 long years later, we now have the framework for finalizing the details for actual redevelopment. If this were easy, it would have been done already. Years ago, before I even ran for mayor. It was through sheer will, persistent efforts of this administration, Susan Drucker and Luke McConville especially, and the refusal to give up or accept defeat or failure that has brought us to this point at last. A huge amount of credit also goes to the developers themselves, Brad Cowett and Greg Levy. Brad and Greg grew up in the Heights, and they're investing their money and their effort into University Square. The framework is set for negotiating the rest of the deal so that we can begin to peel back at the garage and the construction of mixed-use development, including 206 market-rate apartments, including new businesses, including one that I cannot identify to you tonight, but you'll be learning more about relatively soon. I can't tell you who they are, but I will give you a small hint. 2 words: family entertainment. Soon, new business will be coming to University Square. Thank you, Brad and Greg, for seeing in University Square as we do, a true center of activity for our community. Thank you for helping move our city forward. As mayor, I have reformed every city department now but one. Let's now talk about the modernization of our service department. I'm inclined to limit my remarks on the topic of solid waste and recycling because it's been talked about ad nauseum. After 4 years, it is still just talk. At this point, much of this discussion has radiated more heat than light. So my limited comments tonight are to provide more light. Look, before I became mayor, when I was simply a resident of this community, I did not perceive the problems with our solid waste collection. I put out my rubbish and my recycling out back. I took my yard waste down to the curb. If I needed a couch hauled away, I ordered a special pickup. I didn't run on changing any of that, except for being able to order special pickups online, which we have done. Because like most residents, I knew that while what we did was a little unique, I did not perceive a problem. And then I got here. I saw how 4 days a week, the overwhelming majority of our service staff was working on solid waste collection exclusively. I saw all the labor, all the time, all the equipment dedicated to this critical task. I saw how much we were spending on this. And I also saw all the things we weren't getting done in the service department or weren't getting done promptly because of the overwhelming amount of time and resources we were spending on solid waste collection. I saw how it impacted fixing sewer catch basins, filling potholes, keeping up our parks. I saw how it impacted leaf collection. I see how dissatisfied our residents are every year with that process. And most recently, I've seen how staffing shortages and overall labor shortage has affected communities like ours who perform their own solid waste collection. In early 2019, at my initiation, the city retained GT Environmental and commissioned a solid waste study. I wanted to see what we could do better in solid waste collection. I did not go in with a predetermined outcome, except to improve what we do to better serve you. Turns out that we have some of the most expensive solid waste collection around, and some of the worst outcomes when it comes to the recycling rate, to the safety risk to our own employees. There is a way to improve these outcomes, improve worker safety, improve recycling, and save money on the task of collection. I let the data and the expert opinion guide what has become our administration's position and policy, that we can spend less time and devote fewer people to picking up the rubbish, and devote more time and assign more people to maintaining the rest of our infrastructure, delivering our other services better. This should not be controversial. We should all want the benefits of improved service. But to do that, we should be moving to curbside automated pickup of solid waste and recycling. And that has proven to be controversial. Why? Well, lots of reasons. But here's one. Because there is uncertainty in change. Also, I do admit that if I did not know what I know now about municipal operations, about our service department, and about solid waste pickup in particular, I probably would be skeptical of why we should change as well. And when you consider through 2 community surveys that when presented the option of a change with some uncertainty versus keeping what you have when it seems to work for you, the built-in bias is towards the familiar. 4 in 10 people would prefer to keep curbside pickup just the way it is. 5 in 10 are open for some sort of change. The fact that it is even close tells us that more people than ever are tuned into the idea of making the improvements that will lead to better recycling, better infrastructure maintenance all around, a safer workplace for our employees, and a more sustainable city. I know this is the right thing to do. I got to this position on the subject because I let the data and the facts drive this, with expert guidance, solid waste consultants, recycling consultants, national experts, experts at our own Cuyahoga County Solid Waste District, and right here with our own service director and assistant service director. I trust their judgment, and the facts bear it out. I will make this point before moving on. 84% of residents surveyed agree recycling is important. 23% self-report that they do not put out any blue bags at all in our current and flawed program. So we know there are people who think recycling is important, but don't participate in our recycling program. And some of the ones who don't participate have been telling us that they've stopped because they don't believe in what we're currently doing. They don't like that we still use blue bags. They've seen their blue bags end up in the trash. They want a better system. Let's give them a recycling program that they can believe in at last. Some of the folks have lived elsewhere with curbside automated. Residents with familiarity with both methods of pickup tend to favor curbside automated. The data shows that. That's compelling. Let's apply the standards other communities have and deliver to our residents the good service and results they want and deserve. To help do that, let's continue to educate and provide the information needed on the issue. Like those communities, we will not leave our seniors behind. Seniors and people with mobility issues in Beechwood and Cleveland Heights, those cities offer assistance to help move the carts. University Heights will do that too, leaving no one behind. Together, we will move forward. Just like University Square, if it were easy, it would have been done already. And like University Square, we will keep working on it until we get it right and until we get it done. The needs of seniors, our youth, as well as all residents of the city should be heard as we plan our new city facilities. Yes, the police department needs modern facilities. So does the fire department, as does the service department. And we need an accessible city hall with all departments under one roof. Plus, we need an accessible city council chambers. All this and much more was established through the facilities study we undertook in 2021 and 2022, resulting in the University Heights City Center Needs Assessment Report. But our new facilities must also provide community space. We have seen with the renovated University Heights Library the intense demand on the meeting rooms they built. We've also felt the loss of those rooms with the flood that they suffered last year. As we assemble our land, and before we design the space, we must acknowledge the limited available space in our community and for our community. And we resolve to do something about that. I am cognizant the Wiley property may already contain some of the features our seniors and other residents need. Certainly, Wiley could be the new home to features that the community desires, above and beyond the clearly established basic needs set forth in the report. When it comes to community space, the administration will actively seek input from the community for what is called for. We already hear the calls for meeting rooms, but what about a renovated pool with a splash pad, or an indoor pool, or workout facilities? What about a dog park? What about winter and year-round recreation? Perhaps an auditorium for speakers, music, theater, and other events. This is a great auditorium we have here tonight, but it is generally booked with university events, and we were fortunate to have it this evening. There is a need for a true community center. Look, we've already seen how Walter Stinson Community Park has become the unofficial outdoor community center. On any given day, there is music planned by the city or spontaneous events planned by residents. Odd Dog Coffee shows up to provide coffee and bakery. The Yummy Cart provides hot dogs and other snacks. But there's a lack of winter programming in this city, and we need to fix that. We can do more. Let's do it in the right order. We are currently securing the land we know we need. Once we do, and only once we do, we will seek a project manager to work with to design and construct new facilities. We must not only design our new facilities, but we must endeavor to be creative in how we create the space and how we finance it. New facilities must be green and sustainable, not just in their construction, but in their operation. And as a public project, the community, the construction itself will be done by union labor. Together, we will move forward in building facilities that will better serve you and meet your needs. We will do this to bring our community together and move our city forward. Among the reasons I ran for mayor was to build a better sense of community. We don't aspire to be a community where people never see their neighbors. Now that the worst of the pandemic is over, let's get out and enjoy each other's company. We don't have to stay at home. Let's get out to events, whether they are events sponsored by the city or by other organizations. To bring residents together, University Heights is now teaming with Yodel Community Connections. Let's hear from Corey Loomis, our go-to person at Yodel.
University Heights is now yodeling, and we don't mean singing. Mayor Brennan and the City of University Heights has been working together with our team at Yodel Community Connections to bring an all-encompassing community calendar to life. Our goal is to bring more awareness and engagement to events happening around the city and ultimately move forward by bringing the community together. Yodel is the one-stop shop to find all events happening throughout the city. You'll find Heights Libraries, John Carroll University, Heights Arts, and dozens of other organizations keeping you in the loop about everything happening around town. If you don't Yodel yet, create your free account today.
Thank you, Corey, and thank you, Yodel, for your work in bringing University Heights together. Now let's talk about some of the events you're going to see on our community calendar. Northeast Ohio's biggest and best Memorial Day parade will be back on the last Monday in May. The parade is great every year, but we're exploring opportunities to make it even more exciting. Stay tuned. Our inaugural Juneteenth celebration was such a success, we're bringing it back this year on Sunday, June 18th. Like the parade, it will be bigger and better. Last year, we had one stage. This year, we'll have two. Again, stay tuned. Fall Fest will return on October 15th for a fourth year. More vendors, more activities, and more music. We'll have an announcement on Fall Fest entertainment later this summer. But what we can share with you tonight is the 2023 Summer Concert Series schedule. As always, we'll have some returning favorites, but we always like to introduce some bands that are new to University Heights, and we've landed some great ones this summer, so please enjoy the announcement video.
I've got to stay here. There's no reason why you folks shouldn't go out into the lobby till this thing blows over.
Horse Feathers, starring the Marx Brothers.
That's what I said. Fuck yeah!
Should have mailed it to the Marx Brothers. Would you?
Opus 216 is a fun classical group. Billy Like Soda has won awards for being one of the best cover bands in Northeast Ohio, and Apostle Jones has earned critical praise for their original songs. You're going to love Ladies' Night, a bunch of guys performing songs from pop divas like Britney Spears and Lady Gaga, long-standing favorites like Yiddish Cup, We'll Be Back, as well as the University Heights Symphonic Band, complete with not one but two movie nights, Marx Brothers movie Horse Feathers, and of course, the Indiana Jones movie. In previous states of the city, we were still working on the current year's budget as I gave this address. This year, we've already passed the current budget. We did so in December, before we had the year-end 2022 figures. So now I'm looking ahead to 2024. Let's talk first about our financial position as a city as we end 2022. I have a lot of numbers up here, and I'm just going to give you some of the highlights. We'll start with revenues. Total revenue recorded in the general fund in 2022 was almost $17.2 million. Actual revenue for both income tax and property taxes exceeded the original estimates for 2022. Income tax revenue alone is up 13% from 2021. I turn to the expenses in 2022. Total expenditures in the general fund in 2022 were less than $15.6 million. With end of the year encumbrances, money we committed to spending but have not yet spent in the general fund were just $329,699. The full numbers will be included with the transcript of this speech. I don't want to shout all these numbers at you up here tonight. But in short, the city collected more revenue than we projected, while spending less than the city budgeted. In 2022, the city collected more revenue than it spent, as will be reflected in our cash position. In 2022, we had a carryover balance of about $5.3 million. And then from 2022 to 2023, that carryover balance increased to $6.5 million. So over the course of the last year, the unexpended balance in the general fund, that carryover balance increased just in the general fund by $1.2 million. Across all funds, including special assessment funds, the beginning unexpended balance or carryover for all funds in 2022 was about $10 million. And then at the end of 22 and 23, also about $10 million. Finally, the city under my administration adopted a cash reserve policy. By policy, 15% of the prior year revenue in the general fund would be maintained on reserve. For 2023, that figure calculates to almost $2.6 million. We no longer use the vernacular of calling our carryover balances a surplus. When I took office in 2018, we had what we then called a $2.5 million surplus. That is now what we refer to as the carryover balance. Today, we have a carryover balance of $6.5 million just in the general fund and over $10 million across all funds. The city's financial position is sound. You choose to live in a community like ours and pay the taxes you do, and so you expect a lot in return. It is incumbent upon city government to bring you not only good value, but full value. As always, I will continue to advocate for doing better by you while responsibly utilizing our public resources. So, let's now look at 2024 and beyond. I get letters and calls from one of our most senior residents. She tells me that the city of University Heights does not do enough for senior citizens. And you know what? She's right. We need to do more, a lot more. We need to move forward. While senior citizens make up only 11.3% of our city's population, they are a valued part of our community. Seniors ought to be able to age in place in this community. We need to ensure that we are doing what we can as a city to engage them and include them in community activities and services. We need to be programming with them directly in mind. So one of the things I'm looking to do in 2024 is restore the position of Senior Services Coordinator, Walter Stinson's old job. This position should be restored and filled with a budget for them to work with. Looking ahead, we should also restore the position of City Planner in 2024. When I hired the city's first city planner in 2019, he was integral to envisioning the Cedar Road project and its pedestrian and public transit improvements, and improving our exterior maintenance program. He helped us visualize housing conditions throughout the city, which challenged some of our common assumptions. We've undertaken a comprehensive redo of our zoning code, which would be even better facilitated if we had a planner on staff. As also mentioned earlier, we're working with John Carroll University on their capital projects. These too would be better facilitated if we had our own city planner involved. Our community is landlocked and fully built out, yet needs thoughtful redevelopment. Indeed, it needs planning. Having that person on staff is critical to successful ongoing redevelopment and move our city forward. Tonight, I'd like to propose for 2024 another way we can bring our diverse community together. And make no mistake, University Heights is a diverse community. We have a strong base of senior citizens, but we're the 6th youngest city in Ohio and the youngest city in Cuyahoga County. We have diversity in religion too. And according to the Census Bureau, nearly 30% of our population is non-white, with Black and African Americans composing 23.7% of our population. Put another way, nearly 1 in 4 UH residents are Black, nearly 1 in 3 are people of color. In University Heights, right down to our mosaic branding, we are a city that embraces diversity. We view our diversity as a strength. We do that when we celebrate Black History Month. We do that when we fly the Pride flag every June for Pride Month. We do that as we plan the city's second Juneteenth celebration. However, the real work of diversity, equity, and inclusion cannot be limited to certain months or special events. The time has come for the City of University Heights to create and fill the position of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. The DEI officer would be charged with leading the institutionalization of DEI principles in all city policies, decision-making, and services, while also working across city departments to ensure a diverse workforce and to facilitate training and ongoing conversations on equity and inclusion. What does that look like? We absolutely must improve recruitment of minority police officers and firefighters. Don't get me wrong, we're trying. The chiefs are trying. The clerk of council, the civil service commission, they're all trying. But to move forward, we need to do more. Well, what else? We need to actively engage in being anti-racist, welcoming the LGBTQIA people, and welcoming to people of all religions and of no religion. We need to look at our services and amenities, like our public swimming pool, to ensure that we're not excluding people either by design or by outcome in their operation and use. We have often recognized that the residents of the northwest corner of the city have felt neglected and underserved. The fact that a concentration of minority residents also live there cannot be ignored as part of that feeling. The point is, there is something we need to be doing actively every day, not just in February, not just in June. Not merely ceremonially, but in the day-to-day operation of the city. Creating and filling the position of DEI officer further demonstrates our commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, and will help us fulfill that commitment to our constituents of color. I'm committed to building a sense of community in University Heights. We've started that, and we're not going to stop. We're going to continue to move the city forward. People who ride bicycles don't just want to exercise and lead an active lifestyle. They want to be able to go places. Developments in bicycling infrastructure will not happen overnight. They are in the works for 2024 and beyond. As we endeavor to make our city more multimodal, friendlier to pedestrians and bicycles, working together with Cleveland Heights and South Euclid, we have been seeking grant funding from NOACA for Phase 1 of the Heights Regional Greenway project. Last month, we obtained committee approval for 100% funding for NOACA's Transportation for Livable Communities initiative. That's a TLCI program. We are one step closer to having Northeast Ohio's first regional neighborhood greenways connectors. This project goes to a full vote of the full NOACA board on March 10th. If that happens as expected, the Bike Boulevard program project will be fully funded, and I mention it now in context and conjunction with this next item. I'm also pleased to report out that University Heights and Cleveland Heights will be receiving funding from the Federal Transportation Alternatives Program for a multi-purpose path that connects Cleveland Heights and Kane Park to University Heights and the Walt, and then on to JCU. Under the Cuyahoga County Greenways Plan, South Belvoir, which runs through the JCU campus and would connect with this Washington path, is already designated a bicycle route and will also be the subject of further bicycle infrastructure between South Euclid, University Heights, and Shaker Heights. Cleveland Heights Mayor Khalil Sarin and I worked together to take this item that was years out on the long-range plan and move it up and get it funded. This is 80-20 funding that we will need to budget for in 2024 and beyond. We will work with Cleveland Heights to design the path so that we can begin construction as soon as mid-2025. These are just a few of the things we're looking to do in 2024 and beyond. I began tonight's State of the City recognizing some people in the community outside of government moving our community forward. Now I would like to turn to some of the people in government moving us forward. I'd like to repeat something I've said at each of my states of the city, and it is this. The greatest asset this city has are its people, the residents and the people who work here every day in service to this community. It's still true, and it deserves emphasis. The women and men who work for the people of University Heights are indeed public servants in the truest sense. We've assembled an all-star team. They're in demand. They could choose to work elsewhere, but they chose to work in University Heights. They all have the best interests of residents in mind every single day. I'll start with Susan Drucker, our Economic Development Director, former mayor of Solon, much accomplished in economic development during her 10 years as mayor. Susan is here because she believes in University Heights, redevelopment of University Square, actively supporting new and existing businesses, and managing the comprehensive rezoning project of the city to shape and build the University Heights that we will have for decades to come. Thank you, Susan. Dennis Kennedy, Finance Director, former Finance Director of Brooklyn, Sullivan, Beechwood, former Director of the State Lottery, former Fiscal Officer of Cuyahoga County. Dennis and his team in the Finance Department guided us financially through the pandemic. We earned recognition from the State Auditor last year for excellence in financial reporting with our last audit. He helped us establish the policy of the prudent minimum reserve. I went over some of the numbers earlier, and we are in sound position, thanks in large part to his work. Dennis, thank you. Jeff Percorny, Service Director, former Service Director of Solon, and the Assistant Service Director, John Pacella, a 32-year career man here in University Heights. They want to see through the improvement and modernization of the Service Department that this city has needed for many years. Jeff is a big part of the current effort now to implement at long last the new city signs with the new city brand. They will be installed later this year. We have one prototype at the front of the room of what the inside of the logo will look like. They're going to look great. They believe in our shared vision for the city. Jeff Percorny, John Pacella, and our entire service department are moving University Heights forward. Gentlemen, thank you. Jeff Engelbrecht, Housing and Community Development Director, formerly with the Cleveland Housing Court, formerly advocating for Mount Pleasant and other Cleveland neighborhoods. He's working to maintain and improve our housing stock. He's working with prosecutor Mike Cicero to ensure that landlords keep up their properties and don't subject their tenants to uninhabitable conditions. The ones that do are in court, where they will be subject to significant fines, even jail time. Listen, this isn't something we're planning on doing. This is something that we're doing right now. Moving forward on the improvement of our housing stock helps keep University Heights a great place to live. And working with his counterparts in South Euclid and Cleveland Heights, together with Councilmember Brian King, Jeff is helping land that NOACA grant funding for the Bike Boulevards program. And Juneteenth, well, that's Jeff too. Thank you, Jeff. Deanna Bremer-Fisher, Executive Assistant to the Mayor on Special Projects. Deanna is big time. When I had the chance to hire her, I leaped at the opportunity. Former Executive Director of Future Heights, and formerly with the Cleveland Restoration Society, Deanna believes in University Heights. Indeed, she believes in all the Heights. She's working on sustainability, in housing, in facilities, working with Jeff Engelbrecht on getting our first EV charging stations here. And Deanna is helping us meet our goal to reduce our carbon footprint by 30% by the year 2030. She is our point person with Power Clean Future Ohio. We became a PCFO community in 2022, and we're fortunate to have her on the team. Thank you, Deanna. Mike Cook, Communications and Civic Engagement Director, formerly at the Ohio State House. Did communications for the American Red Cross, including on 9/11. Also, formerly with the Court of Common Pleas, where he swerved out of his bailiff lane to encourage organize educational forums during the heroin epidemic. Mike helps create the good things we're doing in University Heights. Then he spreads the good word to city residents and those beyond the borders through our e-news, through the Mosaic magazine, and through the creative use of social media. And he does it all with a light smirk and some old school dad humor. The sense of community we have is thanks in large part to Mike's work. Thank you, Mike. Kelly Thomas, Clerk of Council, formerly of numerous positions in the city, from intern to building department to clerk's office, from 1983 or so through today. Kelly is Heights through and through, an alumna of our schools. She also serves on the board of the Heights Schools Foundation. When the recent Kelsey Bowl, Super Bowl happened, she personally saw to it that I had a gold light bulb for celebrating the first time brothers ever faced each other in the Super Bowl and that they were from Cleveland Heights High School. Make no mistake, Kelly's job is hard. There are long hours, long meetings, and it demands great attention to detail. She's here for all of it. Kelly, thank you. June Drayton, Assistant Clerk of Council, former Clerk of Council of University Heights in the 1980s. She came out of retirement to serve the community she still lives in and loves. And we're so glad she's back. Not only is she helping Kelly, June is the clerk at every meeting of the Charter Review Commission. Our chair of the Charter Review is here, Steve Ward. Thank you, too. And I'm not sure if there's a more pleasant person on the city's payroll. That's why June is the reigning city co-worker of the year. June, welcome back, and thank you. Dennis Garcia, chief building official formerly of the city of Cleveland, and their former chief building inspector going all the way back to the Mayor Michael White administration. Dennis leads our building department, ensuring that building standards are met and kept, handles the permit process for construction. All of this serves not only to keep our community safe, but to help ensure that new development in the city is well built and well fulfilled. Dennis works hard, and his hard work is moving University Heights forward. For that, thank you, Dennis. Luke McConville, Law Director, also Law Director of the villages of Newburgh Heights and Middlefield. He's looking out for our interests as all law directors do, but he's gone above and beyond with his work on University Square, defending the building and zoning codes of our city, helping us in our efforts to redevelop the city, and helping us assemble the land for new municipal facilities. Not only does Luke work for University Heights, he lives in University Heights. Luke, you work hard, you work smart, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you, Luke. Dustin Rogers, police chief, formerly a sergeant, formerly a patrol officer, both here and in Pepper Pike. Dustin is dedicated to the improvement of this community and the guardian role of our police department. With Chief Rogers, we opened the Office of Community Policing. With Chief Rogers, we had full cooperation in 2020 when we created the Citizens Committee on Policing Policies. And we implemented those recommendations, improving our policies on de-escalation and use of force. And looking forward, we'll be working together on a standing citizen advisory board for our police. Dustin Rogers, as well as the entire UHPD, is moving University Heights forward. Chief, thank you. Bob Perko, fire chief. As a new firefighter and paramedic, he joined our department in 2007. He worked his way to the head of the class to become the chief. He comes from a firefighting family, his father being a firefighter and paramedic for 36 years in Seven Hills. As chief, he has reopened the Fire Prevention Bureau. He has created multiple programs in fire safety, more than I will even try to list here, and he's improved our ISO rating, demonstrating that it is measurably safer living in University Heights. The city is safer due to Bob Perko. So I say to the entire fire department, as well as Chief Perko, thank you. Joe Chuney, city engineer. Joe has been city engineer since 1992. Taking over for his father, Steve Chuney, whose firm began serving as our city engineer on April 3rd, 1978. Joe serves as city engineer for several communities, but he's never forgotten where he's from. For over 30 years, Joe continues to make University Heights a priority. Our infrastructure is as good as it is because of his institutional knowledge and careful and consistent work and dedication. Joe, thank you. Democracy can be fragile. As Madeleine Albright once said, while democracy in the long run is the most stable form of government, in the short run, it is among the most fragile. The preservation and flourishing of democracy requires people of goodwill, people with courage to stand up and lead, people who are devoted to the common good, not the pursuit of power, not the pursuit of self-interest, but the common good. Commonweal, as it's also called, from which we get the term commonwealth. These days we've seen the failures that result when people seek power and use self-interest to override the common good. People who create their own reality instead of living in the reality-based world with common facts. That brought us January 6th. Election denial. Illegal, gerrymandered redistricting maps imposed upon our state. It all undermines the legitimacy of our democracy. We see it further in the erosion of majority rule, the undermining of voting rights in the recent lame duck session of the state legislature. The proposal to allow minority rule to decide our state constitutional amendments instead of simple joy. Ultimately, the